multi-direction Qigong as a movement practice, but also to actually experience or cultivate from the inside. So true Neigong, let's say internal skill or internal cultivation. That's the premise for all Neigong, is to do with internal skill or intention, direction, so on. So if we do it as a standing practice, I'm going to stand up in just a minute. Hopefully it'll still be in the frame. Took me a minute to get the camera set up like this. I'll explain some of it, and then I'll just start to show it. It's hard to show these things because it's on the inside. But what I'll say is it's moving in all directions. That's what we want to try to get from this type of practice. So think of a ball. You hear that a lot in Tai Chi and Qigong, but more like a ball that can expand and contract, like an accordion, you know, something this. But that can also be up, down, left, right. So you hear that in the Tai Chi classic, in to go out, left to go right, up to go down. It's my understanding that that's what they're pointing at, is moving in all directions. Now that can be done a lot of ways depending on where your focus might be. So for instance, if we just take a fairly wide bow stance or cat stance, get it to where you can shift from back to forward. Even this, you can do this type of practice. If I expand when I come forward, I come up through the top of my head. This is internal attention type of ideas I'm speaking about. So when I go, I send my attention up through the top of my head and maybe down towards my feet. So I'm shifting my weight from my back foot and then coming up a little bit and then sinking into my front foot. Now when I do this, I don't want to lose the top of my head. That might sound strange, but in Qigong is an interesting way of looking at things. So if we talk about yin yang, this is up to go down. And I sink into my back foot, but I let my top of my head still bring my awareness or energy up. So then pressing down through the floor of my back foot, I'm going to come up. And I just let my hips naturally turn because I've got one hip in front of the other. If I'm facing the camera this way, my hips are now facing off to my right. And when I go back, my hips come closer together and face the camera. So if you come to my classes, we do this quite a bit. You could do silk reeling with this. You could do a lot of things with this. Well, let's work on expanding in all directions. So if we use the hands as well, when we sink back, we'll let the hands float. When we come forward, this is up through the head. And then when I sink into the front leg, I'll let the hands expand downwards, but I still go up through the top of the head. So back, I let my hands float. You can see my hands rising. I come forward, I let my hands sink, but I'm still opening my hands away from each other a little bit, and I'm going out to the fingers, out to the top of the head, down to the middle of the feet, out to the back, out through this clavicle area, lower abdomen, opening everything. So I shift back, I let my fingers float up. You can think hold the tree, that's fine. Any shape you are familiar with, you can do this type of practice. It could be a movement out of the Tai Chi form, or a simple Qigong like hold the tree and then open. Let the shoulders relax, let everything get bigger. Hug the tree. Hands float up. Open up to the top of the head, down to the bottom of the feet, out to the back, all directions. All directions. Depending on what's going on in your body, if you're working on something, getting over an injury, what have you. Like for me right now, I'm trying to open my shoulders. So I'm getting stuck a little bit in my right shoulder. So when I open or sink or expand, I want to go out through what I feel is stuck. See if I can open right through that area. So out the back of my right rotator. Out to the back of the neck. So you can also do full body breath as you do this. But I would say just feel the expansion. If you want to breathe into it, that's fine. You don't have to. Sometimes doing this with breath can build pressure. We don't want to build pressure. We want to just expand and notice things. Right here you can put down the breath, put down everything. Fill up if you like. Put it down. Floating hands. Lifting the spine. Floating hands. Lifting the spine. Floating hands. Down to the feet. Drop your elbows. Lifting the spine up through the center of the head. You can change sides, of course. Yeah. Just shift around, find the right stance for you. So it could be full stance like this. I like to turn the toe in a little bit so that when I come forward, my knee tracks with my large toe, you know. When I track back, My knee tracks with the big toe on the other foot. If we did another shape, could be any shape out of the form. Could be ward off. And just settle in, find where you're stuck. Hold the ball. Ward off. So this is still up to the head and then down into the foot, expand out to the fingers. Lots of things you can visualize if you're not used to going out to the fingers. But we don't want to lift the shoulder, try to go out to the fingers. Up. Down. Out to the fingers. When I first started Tai Chi, many of the movements were very flat. There was not this up and down, and I found that was terrible for my knees. Maybe some people doesn't bother them, but once I started putting this up, down, like down, up through the floor, and then down into the back leg in this case, well, my knees stopped hurting. Up from the floor, I'm 50-50 right here with my weight more or less, and then I sink into the front leg, following my hips. So there's no twist up here. This is turn at the hip, or the qua they call it in Chinese, and then let my hands just do what they're gonna do. I'm extending just a little bit to the fingers. Up, down to the fingers and out. And you can relax at the bottom. And there's many levels to this. I don't know, like a lot of others have said, how many levels there are. I guess this is, you can always get more relaxed. Just try to drop your shoulders, go out to the top of the head, down to the tailbone, down through your feet. See, I feel my left hand floating when I sink back. Still getting stuck in my right shoulder. That's better. That definitely fills your hands up in a way that tells you the Pong or some idea in the Qigong directional verbiage is happening. Let's say Qi flow, okay. Let's try another move out the form. Your form might be different than mine, doesn't really matter. As long as you're not getting double weighted or collapsed. My understanding of that is just keep opening. Depends on what you're doing. timing of this. Okay. If I let that be back weight. You have to play with these to find where, you know, stuff is working. I find it, usually, generally speaking, when the hands are kind of coming above the head, it can be, you can raise your shoulder and break the circuit. So I'm trying not to twist at the top. This is a tough one because it's got this forward, and you want to sometimes do this out through the shoulder, so I'm trying not to do that. I'm just trying to turn from the hip again. Up. Okay, here, getting stuck here. Okay, out through the fingers. I'll just make it bigger and maybe it'll be easier to understand. Up. Down. Top of the head. Fingers float. Another thing to notice when you do this type of silk railing, let's call it, the normal forward and back of your form is probably going to go right out the window. That's what I'm feeling. Because we're doing something else. This is opening all directions. So without the steps in it, it feels a lot different. Switch sides. Get stuck in that shoulder. Ready to come more off the back. That seems to help. Twisting. Trying very hard not to twist. Since this is called brush knee twist step, not the easiest to not twist. Find where your hips range of motion is. Stop. Open. this is Neigong. This is not martial application thoughts or anything like that. That's why it's big and out to the fingers. Yeah. Losing my head. There we go. Up, down. You can abandon the form altogether and just do very simple movements. This is extend and go back with the left, fold with the left coming forward, extend with the right going back. Forward. This might change. Up, down. That's good. Opens the throat. Don't do this one on this side much. Just a small rotation of the hands really changes the feel of these silk reeling kind of repetitions through the forms. feeling the left rotator. Shoulder down. So my last recommendation for this talk or demo, what have you, Qigong, after you do a couple of twist type movements to maybe reset, don't do a lot of those because we want to fill up. You don't want all your filling work to be just, you don't want to clear it all. But if you're feeling something needs to be, adjusted, do it, and then go right back to some type of filling work. That's my practice anyway. Again, it may be challenging to know what's going on the inside for this. I'll try to explain some of it. This is down and go up, obviously. So up to the top of the head, I'll try to follow the same premise as before. So as my fingers come forward, I start by reaching down. I drop my elbows, drop my shoulders, keep my head up. Go down more towards my heels right here, like I'm sitting. I'm gonna sit on a bar stool. And feel your feet up. As you press out, you can also press back just a little bit through the kidneys. Then when you bring into the heart, also feel